Welcome to another episode of Killed in Concept, a true crime drama where there wasn't actually a murder and it's not all that mysterious. I'm Josh, your host, joined by my co-host, Johnny Hicks, and our special guest, Lucas of Nexus Strategic Marketing.
That's right.
Thanks for
so much
joining
having
us.
me. Of course. It's a pleasure to be here.
To be fair, I often struggle through long words, and so I told Lucas, hey, I may only get out Nexus. And he said, whatever, you're good. So
That's the name I told estate, but we can always abbreviate it.
Okay, yeah. Do you ever refer it as NSM?
I've not gotten that far yet, but I have stuck with Nexus.
Now that you've moved closer to NSB, New Smyrna Beach, you might want to be careful.
That's true. I could be cannibalizing my own SEO there.
A little bit.
Like, we are New York Ave. We
How many
lost.
New York Avs are there
Oh my
in the
gosh.
planet? Yeah, this is such a tangent, but immediately after launching New York Ave, we realized we were in competition with every real estate listing in the United States ever. It took us 10 years to actually reclaim New York Ave. And we're good at SEO. Anyways, welcome to Killed in Concept.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
Thanks for
Thanks so
joining
much
us.
for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you. So set us up. Tell us a little bit about, you obviously do marketing, but tell us a little bit about this story that you have to share.
Absolutely. Yes, my background is in marketing. I started really doing marketing professionally in 2019 and then worked in corporate marketing for about 5 years and then transitioned to consulting for a year. Did not work out at all. And as a result of that, started my own company. I've been doing that
Usually
since,
how it is, right?
Since been
I'll
doing that
just do
since
it myself.
2023.
Yeah.
It's true. And I remember one of the first projects we worked on was with a client that we were getting ready to put together a brand kit for. And we're really excited. You know, it's a new company. You're starting out. You just look for a business where you can. And you're
This
trying
is
to
your
get
first
the most.
project as Nexus.
One of the first ones.
Okay,
Yes,
got it.
yes,
Okay.
one of the first ones.
You
And
take what you can get.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed. And it was a great client to work with. And we enjoyed the opportunity to get exposed. And I'm really a firm believer in getting your reps in and having an opportunity just to try it out, fail, and try
Yep.
again.
Yeah.
And I know that's why we're here. To talk about some of the pieces that failed.
No, it's not a failure
They
on your
failed
part.
us.
They failed
That's
us.
what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. He's still new to this. He's very generous. No, I'm
You're
just
not
kidding.
cynical enough to be on this.
I still got to get the rough
You're
edges.
right. You're right. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so it was, let's just say it wasn't a failure on your part, but talk us through the work that you were contracted to do. Where did the lead come from? How did the onboarding go? And what was the scope of the project?
Great question. So I initially started out with finding clients that were just connections of mine, people that I already had a relational equity
network.
with.
Yep.
And then I kind of got to that phase where I'd done enough work for those clients that they were willing to refer me. And so this was one where I started working with them, not necessarily out of a personal connection I had, but it was one where I was introduced to them. And they had been in business for, at the point, I think maybe 20, 30 years. And they were doing great as a business. They were financially solid. But their marketing was just lagging behind a little bit. And just as the industry was changing and trends were changing, they realized we wanted to make a change. And that's where that introduction led to having me do some of that work for them.
What was the client name and what industry are they?
Yeah,
We'll
it's-
bleep out the. Okay, got it. All right, so agriculture.
Yes, I think
we
if you zoom out a little bit, it'd be-
really far out.
agriculture would be good, yes. Anything drinkables, a lot of consumables as well.
Interesting. Okay, very cool. So this came from a connection,
Correct.
and they reached out, or you reached out. How did that work?
Yes, so that was one where I was actually approached by
Okay.
that referral where they had referred me to that company. And
Hey,
then-
this guy's marketing sucks. He needs help.
Exactly.
Got it.
It was
Yep.
basically
Right.
one of those where, hey, we've seen the work you've done for us, and the company really enjoyed that. And so that company referred me to, I believe it was one of their customers at the time.
Okay, got it. So they contracted you for what was the scope? What did that look like?
Correct. So this was involving a full logo overhaul. So the company had been in business for about 30 years. I think of those 30, they had the same logo for maybe 20.
Okay.
And so they wanted to keep some of those original elements and keep that
legacy.
heritage.
Yeah.
And we were tasked with developing the logo as well as we call it the brand guidelines, but sometimes refer to brand kit, the document that essentially all the employees or external stakeholders, they would all be on the same page as to how to use that brand.
What was included in your brand kit? So obviously the logo, colors, what every creative, every agency has their own iteration.
It's
their
true.
own interpretation of a brand kit. But like what all was in yours? Actually, let me start with this. How many pages was it?
5.
Okay. All right. Good.
Just
So
about, yeah.
that's great because the ones that are like 37 pages, I'm like,
No one reads that.
no one's going to read it. Not even the marketing company that created it is going to read it. All right. 5 pages. That's good. What was included?
Good question. So that actually, I believe, sets up the murder in a way.
Oh,
What
okay. Well, I don't want to
is-
jump to it.
No. I'll give you a little tease. What
All right.
happened was we set with about 5 pages because we knew the company was still evolving as it related to their marketing. And so we could have had 15, 20 pages, and it could have been detailed, probably wouldn't have read it, but then they would not have known what to do with it. There would have been language in there that educational piece just wasn't there. So we tried to keep it as basic as possible and stuck with about 5 pages, which included the logo and included the typography. So things to include how to use the font, when to use which font, the colorscapes. So what are the primary, secondary colors and the applications of those colors. And then a few notes on some of the basic materials, business cards, letterhead, things like that.
Like, did you touch on like their tone, like how they should be presenting themselves at all?
We did to an extent. We recognized too that at the time we were walking into a unique situation where the business had been really set in its ways when it comes to marketing with the little
30
that they
years
were
is-
doing.
Yeah.
And so we knew we wanted to rock the boat, but we didn't want it to just completely capsize just
Total
yet.
sense.
And so we try to push a little bit on the applications, but we minimize them.
We call those respectful refreshes.
I might steal that.
Please do. And we have had a few clients that have been around for decades and decades. One notable was a 60-year-old manufacturing firm. And what we found is that the people that approach us at that point, they do desire to have that like fresh approach. But more often than not, there are a large amount of internal shareholders that have been there. Stakeholders that have been there for a very long time, and are just rooted in tradition. That often makes it extremely difficult to even change the smallest of things. Did you run into that at all?
That's a great question. I did to an extent.
Okay.
Where I believe I had a leg up, so to speak, was having that credibility through that initial referral.
Okay,
that company that referred us had a great relationship and they spoke highly of us, which established credibility early on.
That's good.
That helped us not just to be looked at as a vendor, but really as a partner that is here to help the company succeed. And I think not necessarily about this project specifically, but sometimes other projects that I've worked on have become more difficult because I felt like I'm not only working on the deliverables that we've been hired to do, but we're also having to kind of build our equity at the same time. I'm like, wait, like, do you really need to do this? Like, are you sure we have to do this? And if you can get those questions out the way early on, the creative is just going to fly.
So the problem that we often run into is they don't ask the questions. We were just talking about this on the last episode that we did, is that when the clients don't ask the questions or they don't explore the curiosity or some of the things that they're thinking, then often we are destined for failure because we're not given the platform or the opportunity to like help them work through those things. So it's good that they were asking. I mean, that's a sign of a good client.
And it speaks to their investment as well, that they are here not feeling like I'm being pressured to do this by our industry or by stakeholders, shareholders, so to speak, but there's an investment there. Like we really want to get the most out of it. And so asking those questions are certainly appreciated and welcomed.
So this is relatively early on in Nexus. You've got, sounds like a reputable client, especially if they've been around for 30 years. Yeah. I assume you're excited about the partnership and the work that you've been contracted to do. Good money, right?
Indeed.
Were you, before the murder took place, were you paid?
Yes.
Okay.
I established that from the beginning, 50% up front, 50% at the end, which we may get there. Hopefully we do.
Oh no,
But
the murder's still in progress.
But no, this one we were able to wrap it up.
Okay,
after all.
good.
But
good,
we do like to do the 50% upfront.
Okay, all right. So you did get paid. They have buy-in. It seems like people are energized by the opportunity. How would you actually describe the energy concerning this rebrand project or the respectful refresh project?
Yes, when we first started working on the project, one of the things that was very important to me is make the discovery process as succinct as possible, because we recognize that I'm working with very busy people. In this case, one of the managing partners, and we wanted to make sure that when they're meeting with us, they are truly feeling like they're getting value from that time.
Yep.
And so doing our homework up front, but then also being prepared to ask the right questions. And what that often looked like was, let's get to the bottom of what your expectations are for this project.
100%.
Because sometimes I feel like clients aren't necessarily willing to say that up front, or they truly just don't have the ways to articulate it.
Or they're not prepared. They just decided we should change the logo.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
And then it gets real fun, because if they are in fact just deciding, hey, I want to change the logo, they don't quite realize what they've gotten themselves into.
No.
And I know we alluded to this a moment ago, but I do feel like when we've had issues with other projects where billing at the end just becomes tricky, is because they didn't expect to be in this for as long as they were.
Yep.
And they thought it was just going to be a little project,
Yeah,
get it done in a couple days.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, we did. We had a guest the last time we shot, and one of the things that she brought up was that the client changed the logo and went through the rebranding process. But shortly, like moments before they decided to change the logo, they had just purchased a new sign out front. And signage is not cheap when it comes to those monuments by the side of the road, especially the permitting and the time it takes and the plastics and it's just a lot of money, right? And so she said, well, we've got this new logo and it's all over. It's on social media at your website. You just put the sign. We need to update the sign. They're like, it's fine if we have the old one. And I'm like, hold on. Like, you obviously don't understand branding. That's okay. That's what we're here for. You need to change the sign. So did that?
Absolutely.
All right.
I cringe a little bit when I hear that, because as soon as you hear saying it's fine if we leave, you know you're in for a battle.
Yep.
And that's why I mentioned when we started our conversation, that brand guidelines document is so critical. Not just the document itself, but also educating the client what it is for.
Yeah.
How to use it.
Let's be honest.
It's an agreement. It's sort of like your design contract.
It is, yeah. Design contract. That's a good word for it.
Indeed. And I like that terminology, because you're entering that agreement with the client to say, we're putting this together for you. This is our absolute best recommendation, how we believe your company is going to be portrayed in the open market.
Yep.
And if you want us to do this, then we expect you to get the use out of it.
Yep.
And then when you have language or conversations along the lines of, well, it's fine if we keep this, you're working against your own document. And you're truly working against your own investment.
Yep.
And that's, I believe, I think that the crux of when we work on those projects, and truly in transparency, what I'm trying to refine in my branding project with the agency now is, I think we've really gotten dialed in on how to present the brand kit and all that goes into it, and educating the client on this is why page 4 exists in this document, but then also being intentional about educating the client in the long term of, here's how you can best use it in terms of applications. And so some of our branding projects have actually turned into longer engagements that are more on a consulting basis to help them implement that marketing or branding plan in the most effective way, at least those that want to do it.
The follow through.
Exactly.
Killed Concept is sponsored by Paper Jacket, a media production agency that's purpose-built for marketing agencies. If you work with individual videographers and are tired of the mess and unpredictable expense, or you're scared to bug your clients one more time to film their own content for social media, this is for you. Paper Jacket is an award-winning plug-and-play media team with 2 studios in Central Florida and a national footprint. Streamline your content, establish predictable costs, and make more money by embedding videos and podcasting into your retainers with Paper Jacket. Visit paper-jacket.com/agencies to learn more. That's paper-jacket/agencies. We, for a while there, we were trying to figure out how to plug in our brand guides and our design services. And once we kind of wrapped it all up in, we're here to sell and do and perform marketing. We're a marketing agency, because we went through those early periods of, we do a little bit of different things, and who are we? What are we doing? We have a diverse set of skills. When we landed the plane on, we're a marketing agency. That's what we do. We started to fold things like the brand guide into our internal strategy. And the way we served it up to our clients was, we do this for us. We'll share this with you, and you're welcome to have it. We'll even educate you on how to use it and fully equip whoever you so desire with this. But this is not so much for you as much as it is for us to do a good job for you.
Yep.
And that little change completely changed the perspective that clients had on our relationship and where our role played as an agency partner. It also, let's just be honest, took the pressure off the work of the brand guide itself, the kit, right? So we were able to just kind of put something together and serve it up as, this is not for you, this is for us, which removed some of that pressure and anxiety and decision-making, client decision-making. And it started to help us move forward. I will say, though, that our brand kits are not like a traditional brand kit. Like a brand kit, if used correctly, if built correctly, like you're talking about, can be infinitely valuable to the longevity of the strategy that you implement from the very beginning. Which leads us to, where was the first clue?
Spill the beans. What happened?
What was the first clue of things were not going as planned?
Artificial intelligence.
Oh,
okay. So this is a recent story.
All right.
Yeah, this was not too long ago. And this was still at a time when, by the time we record this conversation to when it gets released, we might have an update on AI. But in all fairness, at the time,
there was an update on AI 2 seconds ago. So yeah,
which does not surprise me.
Yep.
And at the time, we were noticing that there were some things being published that really aren't aligned with the brand guide. Or
who was publishing? What was
that was done really internally by the team. Some of the people that maybe we didn't interact with directly. And at some point, I'm assuming new logos got in their hands. It got accessed on the shared drive, and things got uploaded into AI, and some prompts got placed that probably weren't great. And one thing led to another, and you start seeing things online that you can just tell.
Where was the first place you saw something that like clued you in?
I believe it was on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn
was.
Were there 6 fingers?
Is there a picture? Yeah.
I think the first thing I noticed was the font just looked off. I feel like AI in itself has its own font. Sometimes you can tell which model 100%. Even created it.
Yeah.
And we all live and breathe design in many ways, and you can just tell.
You know what's funny is like
evident.
Like my kids, my oldest is 14. Like my kids, they see stuff and they're the pickiest when it comes to AI. They're like, that's AI. Like we watched the new Harry Potter trailer and they're like, it kind of looks AI, and they're just so critical of it. It's crazy, but but you can tell,
I'll speculate that this is another rabbit hole. We need a separate podcast for the rabbit holes, right? So I'll speculate that the younger generation, the younger kids, are not yet at a place where they've been just numbed by like the habit is just scrolling or just just looking at things not with their full attention, and they're more likely and more naturally inclined to know like when something's off, when something isn't right. And AI, as far as it's come, it still has that effect.
Still a bit of the uncanny valley.
But a lot of people, they don't notice. I mean, we had a client come to us because they didn't like the AI content that was being generated by their marketing company. But I had to point out in several circumstances where there was like a torso off of their legs. Some of those. There was like an adult hand on a child. If you don't look and you're not intentional about looking, even I would have just kind of scrolled past if I hadn't been like specifically looking for things to like dismantle the strategy and obviously incorporate ours, or to validate the client, I should say. But I wonder if just maybe the younger minds haven't been trained to like, be numb to some
I hope
of that.
so.
They can
I hope that's the reality.
We should employ children to spot AI.
I do not endorse this.
Like Facebook has an entire room of like 12-year-olds looking for AI. Oh, this is a terrible dystopian future. Okay, so you spotted the AI.
The fonts were off, yeah.
What was the first feeling like you saw it?
I mean, it's like a gut punch.
Yeah.
And then if you've been punched in the gut before, it's not a fun feeling. And you feel like you've put a lot of work into this. And as we all know, putting a brand guide and a brand kit together takes a lot of work if you do it right. And when you see that work just, for lack of better words, kind of gonna toss out the window and AI just takes your spot, you feel a little hurt.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. So we've had clients upload our stuff into AI, and AI will often take creative liberties with even things like logos. Even after you say don't modify the logo, it's like, no, I'm going to do what I want to do, right? So I've seen AI iterations of logos that we've designed. I've seen it's usually larger teams that have access to AI as well as the brand kit, and they try to merge the two, and the output is sloppy. But what scares me is often it's acceptable to the client, which just is beyond me. I don't know if that was that happening in your case?
I assume, given that they were willing to upload it into AI and post it, that it was acceptable to them as well. And I think it comes to I'm still getting to the bottom of it, but it comes to the control piece of it. Like AI can be so transactional, where you pull up Claude's one of my go-to drivers. You pull up Claude, you upload a file, you take 30 seconds to prompt something, and you can get something in return.
Sure.
Is it going to be great? Probably not. And I believe, and I'm thinking, those clients that are putting those things on AI, uploading things, trying to get something in return, it gives them that control of, I have control over what is the output. And for lack of better words, or to not sound harsh, but I think there is a piece of lack of education where then they're utilizing things that are just not valuable. And then they might see that on if they're tracking the analytics, or if their agency's tracking the analytics, like that eventually catches up to them. I don't think that is something that you just put something out there and like, oh, I put something out there, I'm done. But I feel like eventually it's going to catch up to the client, where you're wanting to have that control up front, but you're really relinquishing it in the long run.
Yeah, and you're losing a lot of the continuity that builds trust over time with your audience, and you're numbing them to your messaging and your value proposition. That's messy. It's not even just the design output that's messy, like tangibly, like this is a messy design because it doesn't correlate with the brand guide that we built, or the strategy, but also like the outcome is messy because you're just totally dismantling the trust that you have built or are building with your audience with this type of content. That's an unfortunate side effect that I don't think a lot of businesses have really.
It speaks so much, because when they see, if you're willing to be messy with your own content, what's going to be the service or the product that I'm buying from you? Like, how much less are you going to be concerned about that? If you're less concerned about your reputation, it psychologically speaks so much. This is not just designers being like, no, we don't like AI. Like, we're marketers who understand the value of what works and what doesn't work, and what could have lasting impact, positive or negative.
Which reminds me of like way back in the day on like one of my first dates when I had a driver's license and a car. My car was a little bit messy, to say the least. And I remember, great girl, after the date, we were talking, and she's like, it goes a long way, and it says a lot if your car is clean on the inside and washed on the outside when you're picking me up for a date. And it was talk about gut punches. It was a gut punch, but it was an immediate reality check.
I've known you for how long? Like 20 to 30 years. I have never heard this story. And now I understand. Is this your origin story?
Now it makes sense, right?
Because you're like the cleanest person I know.
Now you get into my car and it's very clean. Yeah. And it's
wow.
That was a moment for me. But to correlate this back to the story, I mean, you're right. That is like what you put out there, what you project is going to trickle down to the perception your audience has of you. And if you are messy with your tone or inconsistent with your branding, or your output is just all over the place, then it's the anti-trust building campaign. You're making a mess of your brand. I don't think many businesses know yet what the outcome is. It's still too early what the outcomes are going to be, because they're longer term, slower rolling outcomes that by the time many of these businesses realize what's happened, it's going to be too late.
It'll be too
it
late.
really is. So did you confront them?
No.
Were you still under contract or no?
No.
Okay. So
I
it's not your place anymore.
No, in full transparency, at the time, I was getting too busy to follow up with them.
Okay.
Like the project was done. It was at a point where they got what they wanted. We got paid, and I had to let that one go.
Good for you.
Kind of,
Yeah.
Good
let
for
them,
you.
let them ride off in the sunset.
Actually, cheers to that.
Yeah, cheers to letting go. I mean, that's hard as a
Yep.
creative, yeah. But you know what? That's honestly necessary for our world. Did you? So you never confront it, which makes me sad because I want to know the juicy details. Did you find out anything behind the scenes about any of it? Any gossip? Share the gossip.
I do remember that there was a level of transition within the company where new leadership started getting into place. And I believe the leadership started to feel some pressure of wanting to see changes and maybe even some financial constraints that really didn't result in me having an opportunity to come back and being paid the rate that we would require to be able to do that work. But ultimately, what I've learned really the hard way was when you first start out with your agency, and mine's not even 2 years old, so they're still an infant, and you start doing work for just about anything, like anyone that you can, and then you start getting busier and you have the opportunity to do new, exciting work, and you get to be more selective.
Yeah.
You start to realize, you know what, there's some clients that I'm just not going to engage with anymore because I don't have to.
Such a privilege to be able to get to that point.
And it's huge. It's huge. And at the same time, I don't take that for granted. And I recognize that, am I going to spend my emotional capacity, which is limited,
That is,
and focus on trying to clean up something that maybe is not worth cleaning up? Or do I pursue new opportunities that I think are going to allow me to apply the lessons I've learned in a new and more effective way? So don't have a lot of juicy details on there. As far as I know, the company's still doing great. I know they're still in business. This was by no means torpedoing their business, but at the same time, it does remind me, your date story is so fitting. It feels like you're going out with someone, you feel like it's going really well, and then all of a sudden they shut the door in front of you, and then they're hanging out with someone else. Like there's that feeling of, and I mentioned to you guys earlier, I think before we started recording, getting married in a couple weeks, and the woman I'm marrying in a couple weeks, all those dates that I'd gone on where I'm like, man, I thought this was going to be it, and it wasn't, helped me figure out the person that I want to be with. And I think that is ultimately a hard lesson to learn, like in the agency world, of there's so much investment that we put into these things that I think makes us very different compared to any other service providers that a business owner might work with. But then recognizing when to say no and when to say goodbye is going to be really critical.
Yeah, I would say that comes from, that wisdom comes from a lot of failed dates with clients, which is infinitely valuable to have those experiences. Fail fast, fail often, right? Big believer in that. And I have done that. We have done that a lot. What's interesting, and we can wrap it up in a second, but I've got a buddy in Atlanta who was a guest on our podcast, and he does web development for all kinds of different industries and different companies. And I don't know if he coined this term or not. I'm going to say that he did and steal it. But he calls, when those things like the post that you saw on LinkedIn, and you start to notice when things are shifting, he calls it design drift. And the way he serves it up is that as things progress over a long enough span of time, that drift is exponential and often irreversible. And in the web world, for his world, it usually means that you've got a awful, terrible mess of a website that requires a complete and total overhaul. But I think the bigger output is when the brand is drifting and the logo and the tone and the imagery and the copy and the stuff that isn't in the brand guide is poorly executed. And that drift happens over a long enough span of time that they're not going to know until it's too late. And by then, I mean, now you're going to spend an infinite amount more time, energy, and money trying to right what could have been right from the very beginning. That's so unfortunate.
Absolutely.
Thanks for sharing your murder story. That's
Of course.
I'm
Glad
sorry
to be a
that
part of this.
that happened, but honestly, it sounds like you had a really healthy perspective on it all. You might have been the healthiest guest we've
I've had
It was a
time,
good
I've had time to
death.
process it.
Yeah, I did give him plenty of leeway
Right.
or lead time. Yeah. So, all right. Well, thanks for joining us. Appreciate your
man.
time. Always
Thank
a
you all
pleasure,
for
man.
having me.
Of
Yep.
course, absolutely.
That's a wrap on another brutal murder. But perhaps I'm just being dramatic. Killed in Concept is filmed in DeLand, Florida, hosted by New York Ave, a marketing agency, and sponsored by Paper Jacket, a media production company. If you enjoyed the show, and I do hope that you did, you know what to do. Subscribe where you listen and share where you play. Until next time, go out there and do your best, my fellow creatives, but be prepared for revisions. Cheers.